I don't really know why, but I haven't reviewed Flucht von Novgorod yet. I sat the other day and looked at coasters that I could possibly review, and this was the obvious choice. I visited Hansa Park last time in 2018 when I rode this coaster for the first time, and honestly, I guess it kind of got overshadowed by Carnon because that is my favorite coaster. That is an amazing machine. But this coaster is hella awesome as well, so I thought today I'm gonna give you my review of Flucht von Novgorod at Hansa Park in Germany. Now, before Carnon, it used to be the prime coaster at the park. It has a reputation of being one of the best of its kind in the world. I've never really heard anyone ride this and be disappointed because it is such an extreme thrill machine that offers so much. It is a complete package coaster. Let's just get into the technical shit. Flucht von Novgorod means escape from Novgorod. It actually used to be called Flucht von Novgorod without the T, which meant Curse of Novgorod, which was way cooler. It's a custom Gerstlauer Eurofighter, and it was the first of its kind to feature a launch, an LSM launch to be exact. It kinda killed the Gerstlauer launch model, only 2 of those were ever made, and then they made this. It's the classic Eurofighter car with 8 riders over 2 rows, and it opened back in 2009. It's 131.2 feet tall, it is 2,296.6 feet long, and it goes 62.1 miles an hour, or, 100 kilometers an hour. That top speed is hit by a rolling LSM launch, which gets it to the top speed in 1.4 seconds. Now, that is not from 0 miles an hour, it is a rolling launch, but, as I'll tell you about later, that doesn't really matter. It's got one inversion, which is a hardline roll, a very classic Gerstlauer element, and the ride itself is 35 seconds long, but there is more than that ride duration. I haven't counted dark ride sections or the lift hill in that, but that is also part of the experience. It's just the prime ride time, I suppose, that is 35 seconds, but it feels much longer than that. Flucht von Novgorod is partially enclosed. It is half outdoors, half indoors. The station and the section before and at the launch are all inside. And after the fast section, which is the outdoors part, it goes inside again. So there's not a lot to see. The coaster itself is these darker green colors, and there's a change at the end where it becomes gray with like wooden looking supports. It's not very pretty. Disgusting! But I mean, the coaster overall looks pretty alright. It's kind of intimidating to look at, and of course the tower and the buildings themselves that the coaster goes in and out of are really cool looking. It certainly has an atmosphere and a certain impression when you look at it, and it really speaks, hey, come and ride me, I'm scary.
That motherfucker on swole mode, gotta go!
Now, when I explain the layout, there will be some spoilers. There are a few secrets in the dark. They're not too big secrets.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
And they're not anything special per se. They're not like with Carnon, because Carnon's secrets in the dark are fucking crazy. But just so you know, I will tell you what happens inside as well. So it starts by rolling out of the station and then comes into an awesome dark ride section, and I'll go into detail with the theming later. It has a very sudden drop that quickly throws you out of your seat and very quickly back into it at the bottom, which leads straight into the LSM launch. And this is in pure darkness. You can't quite see when this drop comes, so it is a surprise. And when you then hit that launch, holy fucking shit. At this point, this is my favorite launch on a coaster. It is insanely powerful. Again, it reaches that top speed in 1.4 seconds, and while it probably is rolling maybe 15-20 miles an hour before it hits it, it is still so fast and so powerful. You get smashed into the back of your seat, and it is so awesome and sudden because you can't see when it's gonna hit. After that, you go into this fast turn, which gives a little bit of positive forces into this ejector camelback. This camelback is super tight at the top, so it gives amazing ejector airtime. It is very strong. After that, you go into an overbank. This isn't too special of an element. It is one of the most forgettable elements on the ride. I guess it's a little floaty maybe, but really when you're going through it, all you're thinking about is, okay, that camelback was insane, and then you're looking forward to the next element. The following element is this double helix. I call it a non-inverting batwing, and this element is pretty forceful. I'd say this is the most forceful part of the ride, and I definitely gray out every time I I go through it. Granted, I did only ride the coaster twice, but I remember pretty much the entire layout pretty well, and the tight portions of this double helix are just really powerful. They actually remind me a lot of the loops on old Vekoma MK1200s. The forces hit so quickly, and the gray out comes out of nowhere. It's awesome. Next up is the hardline roll, and this is a very hang-timey hardline roll. After this is the mid-course brake run, and it feels like the final brake run. You're probably gonna think that if you don't know this ride already, but nope.
Got him!
There is a vertical lift hill in here. It is a Eurofighter after all. You need that vertical lift hill, and you need the vertical or beyond vertical drop. And you most certainly get that here. The vertical lift hill has some theming. Again, I'll get into that later. But it is in darkness, and I mean, I love vertical lift hills. They always feel awesome. And after this, you go into the classic 97-degree beyond vertical drop. This drop in the darkness feels even more crazy. There are some awesome themed lightning effects, which just make it even more awesome. And of course, the ejector airtime is amazing. It is a very quick pop of airtime as always on these small beyond vertical drops, but it is priceless. And I'll be honest, this is my favorite drop on any coaster. I am an absolute sucker for beyond vertical drops. I love them to bits, and the theming on top of it just makes it even better. After that, you go into a massive overbank, really. At least I think it's massive. It's in complete darkness. You cannot see shilts, you cannot see the track. All you feel is that you go into a high above the ground overbank, and then you swoop down to the left. I don't necessarily remember any forces. I just remember that I felt like I was going into that overbank, and it feels so strange in the dark, but it was really cool. After you go down from the overbank, you already start to hit some brakes, and then you think, okay, the ride is done. You know, just like before the lift hill.
But wait! There's more!
Well, kinda. I mean, you just then hop up into a final brake run that is higher above the ground. You know, you hit the brakes, then a quick hop up where you get a very quick, not too strong pop of airtime, and then it stops. And that's the end of the ride.
I guess that ride was too much for the little guy.
I am speed.
It starts slow because of the dark ride section, but really I don't think that bothers pacing because it hasn't really gotten going at that point. When it finally goes fast, it feels fast until it hits the mid-course brake run. It doesn't really feel like there's a loss of momentum, and when there finally is, it's the hardline roll, which of course gives hang time, so you want it to be slow there. So in that portion, there's really no problem with the pacing at all. The biggest problem with the pacing is how quickly it ends after the drop. You have a beyond vertical drop, then you have one overbank, and that's it. Then it stops. That's a very fast way to break pacing, and I mean, kind of break expectations, I suppose. It's the dumbest part of the ride. The fact that it ends so fast after literally just one not too special element. I mean, it's cool because it's in the dark, but force-wise, or like just regarding the fact that it's just an overbank, it is kind of weird that it just ends after that one element after the drop. So that kind of messes with the pacing a little bit. But I mean, it never feels like it goes super fast and then slow and then super fast again. When it goes fast, and in that way the pacing is good. And of course, I guess you can say the pacing gets ruined by the lift hill itself as well, but because of the theming, it is not a problem at all. Basically, the entire ride feels like it's part of one big story.
That's a lot of damage!
I do not remember Flucht von Novgorod's smoothness too well, but I know it wasn't significant in any way. It was not butter smooth, but it was certainly not rough either. So I would say the ride it's a little rattly, but still reasonably smooth. It's like pretty standard Gerstlauer, really, and there's really not much to comment on it. If you've ridden an older Gerstlauer Eurofighter from like before the 2010s, or just before 2015 maybe, I think you probably got a pretty good idea of how smooth this coaster is. Finally, we've come to the theming, which is out of this world. The queue line itself has an amazing atmosphere and a bunch of great interaction. It's a great, scary, dark atmosphere that really adds to the Russian medieval theme that this ride has. It is called Flucht von Novgorod, so it is themed to the Russian city of Novgorod, or city region. Is that a region? Wait, hold on. Okay, it is a city. And you most certainly feel that dark medieval theme all around. When you leave the station, the theme for the coaster starts playing the most epic part of the song. It is one of the most epic soundtracks I've heard for a coaster. And when it starts, you really feel like, holy shit, okay, let's fucking go.
Let's go!
Then you get into the dark ride portion where the theme continues. It has opera and holograms, and it really gets you pumped up for that launch. It is noisy, it is beautiful to look at the theming. It does not feel like a regular Gerstlauer Eurofighter. This feels like a Hansa Park ride. There's so much epicness and so much build up for the layout to come in this dark ride section. It is so well done. Some portions look a little awkward, I suppose, but that doesn't really matter because it's amazing. Doing the layout, there's not really any theming, but it doesn't need it because you just escaped from Novgorod. Then there's the lift hill, where halfway up it actually stops on the lift hill, and then you have this character talking to you. But nonetheless, it's nice to have some theming there as well. And of course, doing the drop, there is the lightning effects, which are just amazing. And finally, when you get off the ride and you go out of the exit, your experience is not done. Because you have to go through a maze. It's like they don't want you to leave. You have to find your way out of there and navigate, and there's even a slide in there somewhere. It's such a Chad move, honestly. But generally, Flucht von Novgorod just has so amazing theming. It is incredibly epic and grand and beautiful as well. It really sucks you in and pumps you up so much. Flucht von Novgorod is just an incredible experience. It has so much to offer, and while it's not the longest coaster, and sure it could have used some more elements, especially after the first drop, what it does have to offer is still so insanely good. It is currently the best launch coaster I've ever ridden. And finally, I'm gonna get back to actually giving ratings. I've never really given like a solid rating in my reviews. Back in my older reviews, I made like an average from several scores I gave throughout the review, but I'm just gonna stick to one solid score here at the end, and I think Flucht von Novgorod deserves a 9.5 out of 10. If it had more to offer after that drop and maybe just an element more as well before the lift hill, it could have probably gotten a 10 out of 10, because this coaster is fucking amazing. It kind of gets overshadowed now because of Karanan, because that is a world-class coaster, and Flucht von Novgorod is, I guess, a European-class coaster. It's kind of like Anubis in Plopsaland, which also kind of gets overshadowed now because of Ride to Happiness. I actually hope to ride those coasters this year, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's been my review of Flucht von Novgorod. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and otherwise, I've run out of things to say. Bye!